Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to talk about what to do if someone doesn't want to leave your house if you're renting it through Airbnb. Coming up. Hi everyone, this is Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy, and on this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be successful. Now today I'm recording at Yellowstone National Park, and I'm just a few meters away from Old Faithful Geyser. But I found this really cool geyser, and I thought I just wanted to share with you why I share this story with you. So I had one of my friends call me and say, hey, what do? I have someone that's been staying in my house. I've been renting to them for like a month, and they don't want to leave. So what should I do? I said, well, I'm going to share with you some experiences that some of my other colleagues have had, and that may be of some help to some of you folks. First off, you have to know that Airbnb, VRBO, a lot of these home sharing applications, they talk about their $1 million guarantee and all this other stuff, but they do absolutely nothing to help you if you get a squatter. If you get someone that squats in your house, you're on your own. I know one of my friends was renting a house. He had this person pretty much scammed them. What they did was they rented for 2 weeks. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, they extended it for another 2 weeks. And then they would extend it for another 2 weeks, etc. And every time they would get to about a month, Airbnb would send them a message saying, hey, you know what? We weren't able to collect the payment successfully. Some of you may have had that experience before. He was like, what do you mean? I thought you took the payment before they stayed. And they said, no, they don't. They actually take it while they're staying there. Or they process the payment and I guess they cancel the credit card or something like that, or they use a fake credit card. So every time he got to about that 2 week point, that person would simply use another credit card and pay for the back 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks that they owed. And then it would take Airbnb another couple of weeks for them to catch on that it was a fake or canceled credit card. They'd send the message again, that person would use another credit card. And anyway, this kept going on for about 2 months. Finally, my friend said, you know what? No payments are going through. This is a joke. He talked to the person, told him, you got to get out. And they said, okay, I'm not leaving. They said, apparently they had spoken to someone in the city, and they had told them they had the right to stay. They didn't have to leave. Now, that depends a lot on where you live, because I have another friend that lives in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, Nevada has different laws. They allow you to give someone a 3-day notice, and if they don't pay, they have to get out. And you can get the cops involved, you can get them thrown out. So a lot of people that rent or do Airbnb and stuff like that, they love Nevada because it's so much easier. But this first friend I was talking about happened to be in Los Angeles. And they told me that they were like, oh man, I'm gonna be stuck with this person. I have, nothing to do. He's gonna have to go through an eviction. It's gonna take about 3 to 6 months to get him out. A lot of times you have to spend a lot of money on an attorney. You have to pay fees if you settle with them out of court. It could be a total disaster. It could really bankrupt you or force you to go out of business. It's really unfortunate, but that's the way the laws work. So you have to be familiar with them wherever you live in the country and know that Airbnb does not have your back. So you have to know how to handle these situations. Now, this particular person waited till Saturday morning. They went into the unit, told the person, okay, you got to move. They talked to the police. The police wouldn't have helped them, but luckily they saw that there was a lapse in their stay. Luckily, the police were willing to go there and talk to the person, and the person knew what they were doing. They were a professional scammer, and they said, no, I'm not leaving. And it just so happened that the person was a transsexual, and every time the police tried to talk to the person or tell him anything, the person said, hey, you know what? You're discriminating against me. So they kept pulling out the discrimination card, and the cops kept telling, my friend, hey, you know what? We can't do anything. We don't want to get sued. We don't want to have problems. So it was a big mess. They kept going back and forth, this person with the police, and the person kept pleading with the police, please help me, please help me. Luckily, they were able to get a captain out or someone in charge that spoke to the person and told them, look, you're not going to be charged for these last 2 months because they weren't going to pay it anyway. No one's going to arrest you. Nothing's going to happen to you. Just walk away. You already got to wait 2 months with it. And luckily, this person agreed to leave. And on their way out, they completely trashed the place. I mean, they broke the bed, they broke the frames, they went out of their way to just trash the place. The person told the cops that they needed 2 hours to get ready, but basically what they did was just destroy everything. They even got a knife and poked holes in the paintings and ripped them. So it is what it is, but in the end, it was much cheaper than having to go through an eviction. Now, I have another friend that did it a different way. This person waited around, talked to the person said, hey, I'm not leaving, I know my rights. Now, that's questionable. That depends on the judge you get. I know people that went to the courts in Los Angeles and the judges told them, hey, you knew that you were supposed to leave in 30 days or 60 days. You're in a home sharing application. So I'm not gonna allow you to go through this whole eviction process and just tell them to get out. Which, if that happens, you're lucky, but that's not always the case. Oftentimes, they'll go to the housing department, they'll make a big deal, and you're stuck with these people, and sometimes you can be in big trouble, So it depends on how things work out for you. You could go either way. But I also know some situations where the cops went and arrested the person for trespassing. If they start damaging the property, there's a bunch of other things that could happen. It can go either way. But I know this other friend, he said that he waited for the person to leave. He went in with a couple of buddies. They got all their stuff, put it in trash bags, moved it out, changed the locks, and then disappeared. That's technically illegal in some places, but unfortunately in some situations that may be your only option if you want to avoid going to court. Now, that can turn really nasty, so you have to be careful. I would probably not do that myself, but that can turn into what's called an illegal eviction lawsuit, and those can be horrendous, and it can cost you a lot of money and a lot of trouble. So you really want to avoid that. I know this particular person was telling me, well, make sure if you do that, not to send any texts, not to leave any voice messages. Don't leave anything that's going to be that could be used against you in court in case they try to sue you or, try to go after you for an unlawful eviction lawsuit. So I guess what he was trying to say is cover your tracks. Talk to them face to face, maybe call them up, make sure they're not on speaker, they're not recording you, that kind of stuff. And that can be difficult. So that's another situation you have to kind of tread lightly. Another person I know rents units over by Long Beach State in the city of Long Beach. And basically what happened to them was they rented a unit to a student there at Long Beach. The student came in. She apparently had some mental illness problems, wouldn't take a shower, kept buying a bunch of food and storing it in her room. And the food was rotting and there were maggots coming out of it, everything else. And when this particular person asked the student, hey, you know what, you got to go. And it's debatable whether or not that person was actually a student. We really don't know. She was really freaked out. She called me, she asked me, what do I do? I just told her what her rights were. I told her what other people I've done. I didn't make any suggestions because I don't really want to get involved in one of those situations personally. But she opted to wait around with another friend, and what they did was when that person left the house, they gathered all her stuff, put it in trash bags, put it on the front porch, and changed the locks. Now she came back and she wouldn't leave. She was literally at the door for about 8 hours, knocking and yelling, making a big deal. She called the police kept coming, and the police will come, they'll knock. But remember, in most places, if you don't open the door, the police cannot come into your house because they don't have a warrant. Now, if you open the door to say, hello, can I help you, something like that, as soon as you open the door, that's called implied consent. The police can push you out of the way and rush into your house. And a lot of people get mixed up with that. They're like, oh, well, they didn't have a warrant. Well, they don't have to. You gave them implied consent. So don't open the door if you don't want them coming in your house and forcing a tenant back into your house or letting them back in. It's better in most cases that I've heard, it's better not even to talk to the police. In that situation, that person got scared and she opened up the door and the police rushed in and they told her, well, you know what, you're gonna have to let this person in. You're gonna have to go to court and handle this civilly. So again, that's gonna last months. So she let the person in. The person started making more of a mess in her house. She started buying food and for some reason storing it in the bathtub and letting it rot in there. I think she had some kind of hoarding disorder. So this person told me what she did was she waited again. The student left the house and again, she moved all her stuff out, changed the locks, But this time when the police came, she wouldn't answer the door. And that person just kept knocking and knocking, and eventually she got tired. The police told her, you know, go to court, handle it in court, or whatever they told her. You know, that's what they told her because the person overheard. She went, she's put her stuff in her car, she drove away, and she just kind of forgot about it, and that was it. That was the end of the story. So the easiest thing to do is not get the police involved. In a lot of situations, the police won't help you, unfortunately. Nothing personal against police officers. You know, they're good people, just like you and I. They're doing their job, but they're peacekeepers. They're here to keep the peace. And a lot of people, there's a gray line there. They get them confused with attorneys or judges. They're not. They're police officers. They're in charge of keeping you safe, and keeping other people safe, keeping property safe. They don't like to get involved in these types of situations because they can get sued for being involved in things that are not their area of expertise. And sometimes they do get involved, unfortunately. I've had police come over and tell me, hey, you know, we had someone that actually got evicted. They had a court order, the sheriff removed them, and then we just happened to not be around. The person showed up again and broke into the house. And then we called the police, and the police said, well, hey, you know what, that person can sue you. I said, no, they can't, they got evicted. The eviction says from the judge, do not come within 1,000 feet of the property for 5 years or something like that. They're not supposed to be around there. They can't, especially can't break into the house. It's burglary. But these two police officers refused to arrest the person and even warned about trying to get him kicked out and arresting us for trying to kick him out. So that was totally off. They had no clue. So it's hit or miss. I found that most of the time, you know, police officers are not landlords, so they're not familiar with rental laws. So don't depend on them to come in and try to be on your side. That usually is not going to work in your favor. A lot of times when we tried that, they talk to the tenant and they tell them, hey, you have rights, go to court, go to the housing department, go to this. They'll start telling them all this stuff. And they'll tell you, the landlord, hey, back off. Give them till Monday, give them till Tuesday. Let them go talk to the courts and see what they tell them. That's not going to help you. So I would rather avoid that situation unless there's some kind of violence or dangerous situation. If there's some type of danger, like I know we had one guy, we raised his rent, and he happened to know where I live. And he was coming to my house every day for several days, knocking on my door and telling me, get out here, you know, all these bad words. I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to do this and that. And I felt sorry for the guy. He was an older guy. He wasn't that old. He was like in his 40s, but he was acting like a kid. But I just told him, hey, you know what? Dude, I don't want any violence. I'm just doing my job. I'm the property manager. I got to raise your rent. He said, no, you know, you out of it out for me. You hate me. And he took it personally. Now, a lot of people take that stuff personal. It's not personal when you raise someone's rent. It's business. You know, the water goes up every year. Taxes go up. You know, property insurance, mortgage insurance, all this stuff goes up. You know, you don't sit at home and go, oh, the government hates me. They don't hate you. It's just, there's inflation. Things go up. But tenants are never going to understand that. They're never going to understand rental increases. So this guy wanted to beat me up. So I finally had to call the police and tell him, you know what? I got this guy, won't go away. He's sitting outside my house and wants to beat me up. Where we live in LA, the cops take several hours to show up. So this guy finally got tired and left. So the cops never really helped us out in this situation. But we ended up having to evict this gentleman because he was very aggressive and he was always trying to, like, you know, hurt us and stuff. We're just doing our job. We have nothing to do with, you know, the economics of the situation. So, you know, there's a lot of touchy situations that are going to come up when you're a landlord or you're renting Airbnb. But what I found is Airbnb is especially touchy because a lot of people feel safe. They think, oh God, I got Airbnb helping me out. You know, this is great. No, I remember we had a person that stayed and we were trying to get them out. And we called Airbnb and they set me up to some type of level 2 support, you know, DEFCON 5. It sounded really cool. I thought, wow, they're gonna come in and save me. Here come the Marines. No way. Their solution was chain calling. They just kept calling the person, telling them to leave. I even talked to the person that wouldn't leave and they were laughing. They were saying, yeah, they keep calling me. I just blocked their number. And I said, oh, wow. So I talked to the person from Airbnb and I said, what are you guys gonna do? And she admitted, she goes, I'm so sorry, there's nothing we can do. We have this problem all the time. It's kind of like a dirty little secret that a lot of people don't know about and the Airbnb doesn't tell you about. So you can get yourself into some real trouble with squatters. And the person told me, yeah, this happens pretty often. She worked for Airbnb and she worked from home. She was an American. She kept, you know, consoling me and talking to me. And she told me everything she knew. And I could tell from talking to her, she had a lot of experience with this. But I also could tell that she knew there was absolutely nothing nothing she could do, especially because most times people will just cancel their credit cards and that's it. You're not even going to get reimbursed. So we ended up having to go over there, talk to this person, negotiate with them, and give them some cash to get out. And it ended up costing us more than what we had made in that month of renting. So it really wasn't worth it. But again, this doesn't happen very often. I would say it's maybe 1 out of 100. But when you feel like something like that might happen, or you come across people that are making comments, you need to handle that situation right away. I know a couple weeks ago, we had a gentleman that rented a property from someone, and on the second day, this guy said, hey, I'm gonna be staying here a few months. And he was drinking on the porch, he was getting drunk, he was talking to the other guest, talking to him, telling him he'd been shot 12 times in Compton, and just going off the deep end. Nobody wants to hear all that violent conversation. Nonetheless, the other guests were very upset and they were scared. They started texting us and calling and say, hey, what do we do with this guy, this and that. I talked to the owner and they said, well, you know what, let's just cancel it and get him out, because if you're under 30 days, in a lot of states, they have something called an innkeeper's law. In California, the innkeeper's law gives you 30 days of protection. So basically, if you're under 30 days, you can call the police, they'll show up, you say, yeah, this guy's out of control, he's being violent, whatever the case, and they'll ask them to leave and they have to leave. Once you go over 30 days, you're not protected by the innkeeper's law and you're at the mercy of the courts or whatever the police feel like doing. So they ended up losing everything. The father died of cancer, they lost their home. It was a real disaster. It was really heartbreaking to hear that story. And I know that can happen to a lot of people, because a lot of people don't have a cushion. They have their home, maybe they have an extra rental property, maybe they're renting a bedroom. They really depend on that rent. So if somebody squats on them and then they have to pay legal fees and you name it, it can be a real disaster. So just be careful. Either way, don't get yourself into trouble, and don't trust these folks. If they do that, they're people that are not real kind and they're not real honest and they don't have a lot of integrity. So sometimes you kind of have to take things into your own hands. Anyway, thank you for listening. And if you have any comments, please comment below. And from Yellowstone National Park, this is Ernesto from Attaboy Cowboy. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.